Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra. Now, it's a very interesting story I'm about to tell because my father was a shipper, and before he died, well, he used to always explain certain details to me as it transcends and pertains to modern life today. Now, here's one of those very interesting facts that he told me. My father said, "Do you know where the word lug comes from?" See, because long before ships had GPSs, captains would throw a piece of wood, a lug, attached to a rope with evenly spaced knots into the sea. And as the ship sailed away, sailors counted how many knots slipped through their hands over a set time. Now, that's where the word knots came from for measuring speed. Then someone had to write it down. That's called, the ship's direction, the ship's speed, the ship's cargo, even its condition, had to be written down inside something called a logbook. And that record was known as so. Now, the log told the truth, even when the captain didn't feel like talking. And today, we have another phrase, log in. And it means to register presence, to leave evidence that you were actually there. But somewhere along the line in the Nigerian journey, it feels like as though we've thrown out the log, thrown out the knots, the rope, and even the logbook overboard because it doesn't have any place in our language. Because in the last few weeks, we've witnessed two stories that look unrelated at first until you actually realize that they're telling the same story. Now, the first one, it happened in Abuja, and everybody's heard of it. For nearly 2 years, and according to the presidency, a man named Adeniyi Matthew allegedly operated a government body called the Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, an agency the presidency now says that never existed. Yet, it reportedly occupied office space inside the Federal Secretariat, interacted with public institutions, opened bank accounts, and even found its way into the national budget before questions were finally asked and when they caught up with them. Now, the matter has become the subject of a criminal charge and an ICPC investigation, and Chief of Staff Femi Gbajabiamila, who, of course, denies any involvement, has honored an invitation by the investigators, and also that was after Adeyemi alleged he received an appointment letter from him. So now, pause there for a second because we're going to another story. If a fake agency wasn't the only thing that appeared inside of that instance there was something else. The fact that there was no check, no balance, or nobody responsible to have checked this and found out how to stop it in the first place. Then came the Jigawa instance last week, following deadly floodings and also a boat tragedy that demanded government attention. Governor Umar Namadi made an unannounced visit to the State Secretariat, and instead of finding an engine room of government responding to unfolding events, reports show that several key offices were locked. Senior officials were absent, and ministries, well, unusually quiet working hours. Again, not just missing people, but missing oversight. And one story asks, how did an agency that shouldn't exist manage to exist? And then the other one asks, how do public officials who are supposed to be present simply disappear from their workplace? Different headlines, but the same question. Who is keeping the log? Because government is not built on buildings, it's built on records, on supervision, on someone noticing when something is slipping through your fingers. Nuts. The Constitution doesn't just merely give government power to collect taxes from you and I, it creates a duty. Citizens surrender part of what they earn because the state promises something in return. It promises roads, it promises schools, it promises security, emergency response, and also institutions that actually function. Now, that promise depends on trust. And trust, well, that depends on accountability. So when people begin to suspect that nobody knows who is working or who is supervising or even which agency is actually real, they don't just lose confidence in politicians, they lose confidence in governance itself. And history shows us where that road leads. In countries where trust in public institutions collapse, from Venezuela's public administration to Lebanon's state bureaucracy, people gradually stop believing official information, avoiding public service where they could, and then increasingly rely on personal networks instead of public institutions. See, rebuilding those societies, it's taken years, because institutions can be repaired far more quickly than trust. And that's why these two stories here matter today, not because one involved a fake agency or because another involved empty offices, but because together they ask a far more uncomfortable question of us. If people keeping the log are no longer keeping or counting the knots, who's steering the ship? And if nobody can answer that with confidence, then the greatest thing Nigeria risks losing is not money, it's simply trust. And no democracy sails very far once its citizens stop believing the captain knows where the ship is headed. So, once again, I want to say, on that note, welcome to Breakfast Extra. My name is Mazino Appeal, and as usual, of course, we have Queen Celestine, of whom from now on I will only refer to as Celestine because she prefers it that way. Hello, Celestine.
Good morning, Mazino.
How are you? You good?
I'm very well. Your monologue just reminded me of something. You know what? We'll talk about this, alleged fake agencies. It's not just the agencies. There are also companies where they have owners who have so much money and then the workers eat the money. And then the people below are just wondering, if we have so much money, why are things not really working out the way they should? So it's not just high up there, it's down below as well. And it's something that everybody
I know what you're talking about, Queen. Didn't we talk about that this morning?
We did.
Very interesting. Okay. It's all good.
Come over.
Let me just say welcome to Breakfast Extra. Stay tuned because we have a packed show for you. Now I'll go over.
Good morning and welcome to the last Saturday in the month of July. Now, this is Breakfast Extra on News Central, as always, where we bring you the stories making headlines and the conversations shaping our nation and beyond. We'll begin with the fight against school bullying and the urgent push for safer learning environments. We'll then examine Nigeria's ghost worker crisis and public sector accountability, while also looking into the Boeing's World Bank funds controversy and the call for transparency. We'll also explore the fight against terror financing, discuss fertility and IVF Day on Wellness Extra, and bring you highlights from the 69th ECOWAS Summit on Trade, Security and Democracy. It is going to be a packed show. Take a seat and let's inform you, educate and sensitize you. Mazino.
Good morning once again, Celestine.
Bless you. How are you?
I have a very troublesome little cough that I think I got from somewhere around here. Might have been Inam.
Wow.
Not sure, from 4 weeks ago.
Well, Inam has another, schedule away from yours. So how would she have dropped the cough?
South African in her.
Oh, well. You went back to get the cough.
Yes, exactly. In any case, it was a great show to watch you and Chiwetel last week, so I had to come back and take my seat. He kept it very warm.
You were jealous, weren't you?
I was.
You missed us just a little.
I think you dressed a bit extra for him.
Oh, wow.
That was what I was jealous about, but it's okay. No problem. I'm back here. It's all good.
Next time, don't leave me.
The happenings of the week, however.
Yes.
How excited were you about the discovery of, ghost workers, more fake agencies or whatever?
Mazino, we've both sat down here. Sometimes I tell you my controversial theories and you're laughing.
Yeah,
it's like...
So you can prove them.
Why now?
Well,
we're always complaining that we don't have money, we have subsidy, we have so many things we're borrowing. Why and how, who is the person? Because you don't just have ghost workers, somebody put them there. So who's the person?
I'll tell you a funny thing about Jigawa State, the fact that this is not the first time they've sanitized their payrolls and workers log. This happened in 2024. Now, only just 2 years down the line, you're still discovering more ghost workers. But I don't think it's about ghost workers anymore, because if we're noticing that there are ghost workers, one system is working. It's the fact that even if you do have the workers, they're not working. The governor's visit shows that. So what exactly is wrong with the civil service? And it's not just there. Come to Lagos here. You know what happens when you go...
I had a friend who his mom had died a few years ago, and then the hospital called to follow up. Oh, we've not been seeing your mother.
We've not been seeing her? She doesn't go?
She's gone.
They just are never there.
They didn't even know that she had passed.
Oh, no. They don't have logs.
They don't have logs. And he's like, well, we had Xtra a few years ago. She's gone. And you're calling to check up years after?
So that's the problem. It's that's the disease. Yeah. The ghost workers are the symptoms.
Indeed.
Well, in any case, welcome once again, Breakfast Extra here. It is the Environmental Sanitation Day here in Lagos. And of course, as usual, we'll be bringing a correspondent who is out there monitoring the situation and who gets the fortunate job, none other than Israel Ifirobo. And he'll be bringing us visuals from across Lagos and telling us exactly where his location is and who he might be with. Israel, good morning. We see you there. Do tell us exactly where you are and what the situation is like with the sanitation operation.
I know you can hear me right now. We're live here in Badagry local government area, and a team from the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources are right here in this Badagry local government area, ensuring that the monthly environmental sanitation is ongoing and well attended by people of the area, led by the Special Advisor to the Governor on the Environment, Mr. Ruth Makedo. He's right here, marshalling his troops to ensure that they also lead by example as they try to sensitize the people of this area, this locality, that they must always come out on the last Saturday of every month to clean up the environment. Mazino, this has been going on for a couple of months now, and it seems that the drive for a cleaner, healthier Lagos state is indeed in full force, Mazino.
Okay, very interesting. We can see people in very bright yellow jackets. I'm wondering who exactly they are. Are these workers from the local government area, or are these individuals or resident or people who are resident in the area?
Oh, well, Mazino, well, the man you see right here, just hold on for a minute. This is the Special Advisor to the Governor on Environment, and he's the one leading the troops. The other people who see around here, they are all officials from the ministry as well, and those from this local government as well, working hand in hand to ensure that the people of this area, they do what is needful to ensure that this exercise is well attended. Let's quickly get a word or two from the Special Advisor to the Lagos State Governor on Environment. Sir, this is another environmental sanitation exercise, and you're live on television. How important has it been for you today, marshalling your troops to be here today in Badagry?
Thank you so much. This is another opportunity to communicate to our people that the need for us to pay attention to our environment, it cannot be overemphasized. We're happy with our host. He's been a wonderful host, the Honorable Chairman, the Executive Chairman of this local government, Honorable Onkwe. He has demonstrated to us that he has the capacity to transform the environment in Badagry, and this is exactly what we want other chairmen to emulate. We've been around, and the chairmen are up and doing. We're happy with what they're doing. We just want them to keep it up. And for the residents of Lagos State, we want to appeal to them to continue to comply and make sure they move away from this bad behavior of mishandling their waste. Waste and the environment, they are intertwined. If you don't take care of your waste within your environment, then the environment begins to degenerate, and it can lead to a lot of health issues. So we're happy when we come here. You can see them. The student body are here, the market women are here, the CDCs are here, and even the hunters join us in this. And that's to tell you that the chairman has mobilized everybody. And another thing that we're happy about is that when we are coming, we found the residents of Badagry, all of them trooped out to observe the environmental sanitation. It is this compliance level that encourages us, that keeps us happy. We want to see that Lagosians embrace this renewed hope and new act, they turn a new leaf in managing their environment. So we're happy with what they're doing, and we want them to keep it up.
So we see lots of people here that have come out with you. Who are these people?
Thank you. So with me are the ministry officials. I have the Permanent Secretary, Office of Environmental Services. Dr. Mobolaji Gaji is here. Dr. Engineer Adebiyi is also here. That's the Permanent Secretary, Office of Drainage Services.
How can we sustain this drive in Lagos?
We also have some of our general managers here. The Loma general manager, the Laswamo, all of them are here. And we have all our staffs, just to make sure that we monitor the exercise, and we're able to get the meat out of it.
I say thank you so much for talking to us here on News Central TV. Thank you. And keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Well, Zeno, this is indeed the current situation here in Badagry local government area. Ministry officials, as you can see, they are all over the place doing their job and ensuring that indeed the drive for a cleaner, healthier Lagos environment is indeed taken to every nook and cranny. Badagry is not a far place. Some say it's too far, but we are live here today in Badagry local government area, ensuring that the people here are also in the know that a cleaner environment is exactly what everybody needs, Zeno.
Well, Afarabo, good morning. Let's talk about picking the trash in Lagos. We've heard a lot of people say it's taking so much time to come pick up where they've packed it. Have you heard anything in terms of how they tend to curb that?
Well, speaking about picking up the trash in Lagos State, we just spoke to the Loma Managing Director, Dr. Muyiwa Gbadigeshi. I know he's somewhere around. I'm trying to look around if he's still here so we can quickly speak to him live on television. But he's around. We spoke to him just a few minutes ago. But indeed, he did say that, yes, there are delays in picking up trash here in the state. But he has also addressed that issue, that in the next few weeks, this will be a thing of the past. He says that work is ongoing at the Olusosu dump site. And indeed, there are other compactor trucks that are coming into the states to add to the number of compactor trucks around Lagos State, and this is exactly what he has told us. He admits there are delays in waste collection, but he says that his agency, LOMA, in collaboration with the Ministry of Water Resources and the Environment, are working hard to ensure that this backlog, these delays are indeed nipped in the bud. Celestine.
Thank you so much, Israel, for that update. We will come back to you subsequently and see what happens during the course of today. Thank you so much, Israel.
Thank you, Israel.
Now let's go on a short break. When we return, Breakfast Extra continues. Stay with us.
Isaac, come. You know where I see seat, yeah? Yeah, where the TVs are. You see.
Name now. I'm looking for it.
Inside one of them. Open it. Bring paper. The paper is just by the side. A4 paper 2. And a pen. If the pen is not there, just help me find a pen around.
Good morning, Ronke Posh. Can you hear us? Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I can. Good morning.
Perfect. My name is Celestine, and this is Maz.
Good morning.
Good morning, Maz and Celestine. Good morning.
All right. And we have Vigo Terry. Vigo.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Vigo.
Can you please switch your camera to landscape?
No, it's a auto rotate. Your auto rotate. Yes, please.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Vigo, where are you from?
Nigeria.
I knew you were going to say that. I also knew you were going to say Delta State, but what are you, Isoko or Urobo?
Oh, Urobo.
Okay. Could you please bend your camera down a bit so we take out some of the ceiling? All right, let's see now. And let's have you in the middle. If you could shift over to the middle.
Hi.
There you go. This is okay. Well, no, not really. You're not yet in the middle. Just a bit more. Yeah, move a bit to your left or move the camera to the right. Just a bit. Just a bit. A bit more. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, you move. Good. Great. That's it. Thank you very much, Vigo.
All right.
Now, school bullying remains a growing concern in Nigeria, affecting students' safety, mental health, and academic performance. The federal government, in response, is now strengthening efforts to end bullying in Nigerian schools with the creation of a 7-member oversight committee and new confidential reporting channels.
Now, the Federal Ministry of Education and the Universal Basic Education Commission says students found guilty of bullying could face disciplinary measures, including suspension or expulsion, depending on the severity of the offense. Now, the key question now is whether stronger policies alone are enough. So, to discuss that, for a conversation here, we have the director, La Posh School, Ronke Posh. We also have mental health performance and wellness coach and entrepreneur Vigo Terry. Ladies, you're welcome. Thank you very much for gracing our show as our first guests this morning.
Good morning. Now, Ronke Posh, let me start with you. Before we go into the federal government involvement right now, how has bullying been in Nigeria? Would you say, before the federal government is, comment now, would you say it has been increasing or it has reduced drastically?
Is that for me?
Yes,
Ronke.
Ronke.
Is that for me?
Yes, Ronke.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. Yes. Bullying, I believe, is a national culture in Nigeria. It is everywhere we go. It's in the families. It's on the streets. And you find that the typical Nigerian doesn't even feel safe, not even around officers of the law. So if something is a culture, it grows until we begin to intentionally.
This is another environmental sanitation exercise, and you're live on television. How important has it been for you today, marshalling your troops to be here today in Badagry?
Thank you so much. This is another opportunity to communicate to our people that the need for us to pay attention to our environment, it cannot be overemphasized. We're happy with our host. He's been a wonderful host, the Honorable Chairman, the Executive Chairman of this local government, Honorable Onkwe. He has demonstrated to us that he has the capacity to transform the environment in Badagry. And this is exactly what we want other chairmen to emulate. We've been around and the chairmen are up and doing. We're happy with what they're doing. We just want them to keep it up. And for the residents of Lagos State, we want to appeal to them to continue to comply and make sure they move away from this bad behavior of mishandling their waste. Waste and the environment, they are intertwined. If you don't take care of your waste within your environment, then the environment begins to degenerate, and it can lead to a lot of health issues. So we're happy when we come here. You can see them. The student body are here, the market women are here, the CDCs are here, and even the hunters join us in this. And that's to tell you that the chairman has mobilized everybody. And another thing that we're happy about is that when we are coming, we found the residents of Badagry, all of them trooped out to observe the environmental sanitation. It is this compliance level that encourages us, that keeps us happy. We want to see that Lagosians embrace this renewed hope and new act, they turn a new leaf in managing their environment. So we're happy with what they're doing and we want them to keep it up.
So we see lots of people here that have come out with you. Who are these people?
Thank you. So with me are the ministry officials. I have the Permanent Secretary, Office of Environmental Services. Dr. Mobolaji Gaji is here. Dr. Engineer Adebiyi is also here. That's the Permanent Secretary, Office of Drainage Services.
How can we sustain this drive in Lagos?
We also have some of our general managers here. The Loma General Manager, the Laswamo, all of them are here. And we have all our staffs, just to make sure that we monitor the exercise, and we're able to get the meat out of it.
I say thank you so much for talking to us here on News Central TV. Thank you. And keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Well, Zeno, this is indeed the current situation here in Badagry local government area. Ministry officials, as you can see, they are all over the place doing their job and ensuring that indeed the drive for a cleaner, healthier Lagos environment is indeed taken to every nook and cranny. Badagry is not a far place. Some say it's too far, but we are live here today in Badagry local government area, ensuring that the people here are also in the know that a cleaner environment is exactly what everybody needs, Zeno.
Well, Afarabo, good morning. Let's talk about picking the trash in Lagos. We've heard a lot of people say it's taking so much time to come pick up where they've packed it. Have you heard anything in terms of how they tend to curb that?
Well, speaking about picking up the trash in Lagos State, we just spoke to the Loma Managing Director, Dr. Muyiwa Gbadigeshi. I know he's somewhere around. I'm trying to look around if he's still here so we can quickly speak to him live on television. But he's around. We spoke to him just a few minutes ago. But indeed, he did say that, yes, there are delays in picking up trash here in the state. But he has also addressed that issue, that in the next few weeks, this will be a thing of the past. He says that work is ongoing at the Olusosu dump site. And indeed, there are other compactor trucks that are coming into the states to add to the number of compactor trucks around Lagos State, and this is exactly what he has told us. He admits there are delays in waste collection, but he says that his agency, LOMA, in collaboration with the Ministry of Water Resources and the Environment, are working hard to ensure that this backlog, these delays are indeed nipped in the bud. Celestine.
Thank you so much, Israel, for that update. We will come back to you subsequently and see what happens during the course of today. Thank you so much, Israel.
Thank you, Israel.
Now let's go on a short break. When we return, Breakfast Extra continues. Stay with us. Now, school bullying remains a growing concern in Nigeria, affecting students' safety, mental health, and academic performance. The federal government, in response, is now strengthening efforts to end bullying in Nigerian schools with the creation of a 7-member oversight committee and new confidential reporting channels.
Now, the Federal Ministry of Education and the Universal Basic Education Commission says students found guilty of bullying could face disciplinary measures, including suspension or expulsion, depending on the severity of the offense. Now, the key question now is whether stronger policies alone are enough. So, to discuss that, for a conversation here, we have the director, La Posh School, Ronke Posh. We also have mental health performance and wellness coach and entrepreneur Vigo Terry. Ladies, you're welcome. Thank you very much for gracing our show as our first guests this morning.
Good morning. Now, Ronke Posh, let me start with you. Before we go into the federal government's involvement right now, how has bullying been in Nigeria? Would you say, before the federal government is, comment now, would you say it has been increasing or it has reduced drastically?
Is that from me?
Yes, Ronke.
Is that from me?
Yes, Ronke.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. Yes. Bullying, I believe, is a national culture in Nigeria. It is everywhere we go. It's in the families. It's on the streets. And you find that the typical Nigerian doesn't even feel safe, not even around officers of the law. So if something is a culture, it grows until we begin to intentionally address it and say we're going to put a big no to bullying, then it will continue to grow. So I do believe that this is a good move, it's a good initiative if it is implemented.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ronke, the funny thing is that it is not being introduced, it's rather being, it's like a reiteration. It's like they're saying, hey, we had this before.
That's why I said introduce, because to be honest, we say a lot of these things, and that's why I also said if it's being implemented.
Exactly.
Because we see a lot of things. You see, if something is a policy, culture will eat policy for breakfast. If something is a policy and you don't see it being carried out, if it's not done, if I come to your school and you have a beautiful policy, you have stickers on the wall, and you're saying no bullying, however, bullying is happening, children are reporting things, teachers are bullying, then that is not being done. So that implementation needs to happen. So I'm glad that these conversations are happening again. However, it is not enough for it to just be a conversation or a town hall meeting.
Well, okay, Posh, I'm going to come back to you about implementation. We'll talk on that. But let me turn to Vigo. Vigo, I wanted to know exactly how it affects the child. Now, when we talk about bullying, we often only think about one child. We're thinking about the victim child. But the truth is, that's not just the problem. There's also a problem with the person who is the culprit, the bully himself. So could you give us the differentiation between these two children and what responsibility the school, the parents, or maybe even society owe these children? I'm sorry, it's a very long question, but I'm sure you get it.
Yeah, so the difference between the bully and the bully. First of all, I think there are different types of bullies. There are the natural bullies and then the homemade bullies. That's the one that, maybe something's wrong at home and they try to come to school to express themselves. And then they're the ones that are called the social bullies. They learn the power dynamic and then they try to, exert that power on weaker or smaller students. So studies show that sometimes these bullies don't even know that what they're doing is, wrong because they lack empathy. And now to the bullied, the bully can be someone who is literally really smaller, socially awkward, or physically weak, or someone that has low self-esteem. And then these are the things that the bullies see and they try to work with or use as a means to, oppress them. Now, the effect of bullying, if I tell you, it goes way more than within the school premises. There are studies that show that the effect of bullying can last for 4 decades and over, if not worked with, if the person has not built that resilience to deal with your trauma. So bullying can affect a child so bad that it affects the physical, mental, and psychological health. We all know the effects mentally, which could be, PTSD, trauma, random anxiety, low self-esteem, which is a very strong one. And then physically, we have stress, which could be induced to insomnia, stomach pain in the child, and a lot more physical symptoms that,
Okay, so Vigo, thank you very much for mentioning this. But would you, in one word, would you say it's a culture in Nigeria, bullying generally?
It's a worldwide culture.
Worldwide culture.
In the UK, it happens in Asia.
Now,
but yes, how it's strong.
Now, thank you for saying that. So, Ronke, I'm going to come back to you now. With what we have as a policy already that the government is reiterating, this is what must happen. It requires that schools must investigate complaints, document incidents, support victims, involve parents, refer criminal cases to law enforcement, provide counseling, continuously review school policies, train staff regularly, and monitor repeat offenders. But in no place does it absolutely put the responsibility or even the repercussion on parents or even society. But here we're talking about a culture. So how do you think that these policies can absolutely involve either parents or society itself?
So we have to continue having these conversations like we're doing now in the schools, and we have to continue to carry parents along, because we find that parents actually, a lot of parents are actually bullies as well. They bully their children at home, and the children also bring that culture into the schools. So we need to continue to sensitize everybody. Even in the marketplace, if you go past somebody's stall and you accidentally hit something, you will be bullied. Words will be slurred at you. You'll be, all sorts of things will happen. The bullying the conversation just has to happen, because it's not even only happening in the schools, it's not only happening in the homes, it's happening online, it's happening everywhere. The cancel culture is there, all sorts, it's just so bad. So we just have to continue talking about it and ensuring that where we need to put in certain measures, and in terms of consequences, we have to ensure that it's not just word of mouth, that people actually do get the consequences where these things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ronke and Vigo, I have other questions for you, but let's go on a short break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back. Now, before the break, we're talking about, bullying in schools and now the involvement of the federal government. We have Ronke Posh of the La Posh School, who's the director there, and also we have Vigo Oteri, who's she's a mental health, performance and wellness coach. Thank you so much, ladies, for having this conversation. Now, Vigo, let's talk about this bullying situation. We've talked about it as culture. And, Ronke has mentioned that we need to talk about it more than the way we're talking about it now. How do we curb this? Would you say suspension, expulsion is enough to address bullying? Or, we need to go to the root where we're canceling the parents, the teachers, to show them or teach them what the environment is supposed to look like?
Absolutely. And I think these measures have been taken over time, expulsion, talking to the parents. But not to speak too much, English, I think what should be done is a point should be gotten to where bullying should be seen as a taboo in the community. I think if we get to that point, just like stealing is, before a child will try to bully someone, they're going to, really be watchful, because if down at home, the child is being treated like they stole, or in school, I think it's really going to curb a lot of bullying, because we don't treat it as bad as it is, because it's really bad.
And I'm wondering what the effects of punishments are on especially these kids. Because Ronke Posh mentioned something. She said, yes, even the parents are bullies as well. If you're punishing the kids and not punishing the parents, I'm wondering how effective that would be. But then I do know that there are psychological effects on children when they're, overly punished, especially for cases like this, where they themselves seem to think that these instances are regular or simple or normal. So how much damage are we doing to kids when we force them, or punish them for these things, acts of bullying, if they are the culprits?
I think there's a level of damage done, but now we're not also looking at the other side, because sometimes the bully is being scared, because if I'm a bully and I'm being punished because a weaker person reports me, psychologically, I want to do more harm to that person. So, yes, I might have been, punished, but it will also make me want to find other ways that, are unseen for me to want to do more to the person I'm bullying. It could be maybe socially now or verbally.
Right. Ronke, I'm sure that, when we say bullying, people are expecting somebody giving, another person a blow. But I know that there are subtle bullying. Can you paint a scenario for us as to how people can tell when somebody is, bullying them, or, they can tell when there's a bullying situation around them?
Good. I like to give examples based on age, because there's some ages that we overlook. When you have some preschoolers sometimes playing on the playground, somewhere in the classroom, and you find some of them saying, don't play with her. She's not in our group. She's not our friend anymore. It's very subtle, but that is how it starts. When we start to when those children start to exclude one another, and then you move on, you find that they are going to birthday parties, they're excluding one or the other, or they are coming to school on the playground, excluding one from a particular game, or just when they're hanging out. And then as they grow older and they become teenagers and begin to have access to social media, you would see that they begin to they're extremely mean at this point. So they have groups online, they're on Snapchat, they're posting news of people that they've kind of like blackmailed. It now becomes really, really ugly at that point because we have all sorts happening that they do on different platforms. So we need to really address it when we begin to see it. And it's not just the consequences. We need to also educate them and actually let them know that these acts are mean. I like that prevention. I like to say that prevention is better than cure. Some of those children actually don't even know the consequences, or they don't know how horrible it is and the effects it has on another person. And having one bullying day in a term, anti-bullying day rather, in a term is not enough. That's why we keep saying it should be culture. Let them have role plays, let them see and let them understand, and let them put themselves in that position so that they can see that this and feel that this sort of acts are not right. A lot of them see some things happen. It's been normalized in their minds. And we need to ensure that they realize that these actions of theirs have negative impacts on others.
Oh, Ronke, you mentioned something that I found very interesting because the nature of bullying has changed over the years. It's no longer physical, it's now virtual. People can do this on their WhatsApp pages, their Instagram, and all of that. So I'm wondering how realistic, whether punishment, policy, or whatever it is when it comes to curbing bullying in schools. Can these actually change these instances, especially the ones on the cyberbullying specifically?
Yes, it can help. We can't sit and twiddle our thumbs. We have to educate. We have to talk to the children about cyberbullying. I keep saying that a lot of them are actually ignorant of the actions that they do. They just join these groups. You find that when they are caught, sometimes you would ask them and they would just, I joined, or somebody added me to the group. Some of them are intentional, some of them are mean. So we have to continue. And you find that oftentimes when they do these things, they do it in the name of the school. So they maybe class, random name, maybe class breakfast or whatever, girls, and they are isolating this particular girl or talking about this particular girl in that place, in that space or that platform. The schools have to come in. They can't stay away. The school, as long as they find out. So say, for example, you have to let them know that you're not setting up certain groups in the name of the school. You're not talking about a particular girl or a particular boy. We've seen incidences where pictures have been taken in school uniforms and posted online and all sorts of things. It's a challenge. It's a mammoth task. However, especially secondary schools, because that is where it happens, we have to have those online policemen and women helping. We have to ensure that there's whistleblowing going on, that is safe. Children can report anonymously. They have to be able to help one another. So, because it's not every child that is mean, and they're often all aware when these things are happening. So somebody must be able to have a portal, have a platform, have an individual in the school that they can report these things to. Like I said, it's a mammoth task, but we can't stop it.
Right. Vigo, what would you say, are practical steps, or what would be your advice to schools to, prevent bullying as much as possible?
Put out policies. I think that schools should also have this continuous awareness, especially social emotional awareness. So the students know that bullying is bad. And just like she said, most of the events happen and the students see it. So also the students should also be trained to report and manage situations where they find someone being bullied. And then also, I know that the teachers could be tired sometimes. They should find a way to manage the punishment so much so that manage and maximize so much so that when other bullies see what is being done to a bully, they are cautious. And then there should also be parental training. So I think those measures would help to some extent.
Well, thank you so much, Vigo or Terry, for joining us. And of course, Ronke Posh. Hopefully, this is not just a one-day conversation. It has to continue because bullying leads to fear and anxiety and God knows what else. And it demands actions, not just policy. We need to end it. So thank you so much for having this conversation with us on Breakfast Extra.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Yeah, we hope schools and parents are taking note to make sure that we have a safe environment, not just insecurity, there's also bullying. So let's take note. Let's go on a short break. When we return, we start another conversation. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Our second conversation for this morning. Now, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, the ICPC, has uncovered 908 ghost workers across several federal ministries, departments, and also agencies in what it describes as a payroll fraud scheme that allegedly siphoned hundreds of millions of naira from government coffers. And according to the commission, investigations led to the recovery of about 942 million naira believed to have been paid as salaries to non-existent workers. The latest recovery follows a court order granting the final forfeiture of 941,994,079 naira, 86 kobo, linked to suspected ghost workers identified during the Commission's investigation into the IPPIS.
At the same time, another development has reignited concerns about accountability within the public service. During an unannounced visit to the Jigawa State Secretariat, Governor Umar Namadi reportedly found several offices deserted during official working hours. While absenteeism and ghost workers are different issues, both point to a broader concern about oversight, efficiency, and accountability within Nigeria's civil service. So after years of reforms and verification exercises, is Nigeria's civil service becoming more accountable, or is the system still vulnerable to abuse? And joining us this morning to unpack these issues is Anyakan Joseph. He's a public policy analyst. Mr. Anyakan, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Thanks for having me. Good morning. Good morning, Nigeria.
Morning, Joseph. Now, let's talk about, first off, let's start with the IPPIS. It's a funny name, by the way. The Integrated Payroll and Personal Information Systems. So it was introduced, I think, in 2024, if I'm not mistaken, and this were its responsibilities: centralize federal payroll, eliminate duplicate payments, verify employee identification, reduce payroll fraud, and improve transparency in salary administration. So since then, it's been working, because from before, the number of ghost workers were in the thousands, and only this time they were in the hundreds, which maybe we should celebrate. But it doesn't remove one fact, that we're still discovering fraud after it has happened. So I'm wondering what other responsibilities the IPPIS might have in order to absolutely stop it.
Thank you for that question, Liz. I think there are a few facts that we have to get straight as we go into this conversation. First, the IPPIS is administered by a private organization. And it's important that for a very long time, we have given a lot of credit to private organizations. They're professional, they are profit-driven, and they deliver value. So there's an organization based in Lagos, set up in 2002, and was awarded the contract to deliver the IPPIS in 2003. That organization is private, and it sits in the office of the Accountant General of the Federation. And the promise of private sector values in the public has been challenged by this type of scandal, if you want. Secondly, it is expected that the level of scrutiny that comes with that type of technology should guarantee that we cannot breach that technology and insert certain names and certain people to the scale that we have. But to be fair, the issue of ghost workers is not new, because the first time that ever came up in our history as a nation was under the administration of General Murtala Mohammed, as far back as 1975. So we have half a century history of ghost workers in Nigeria.
Right, Anyekan, it's 2026 and we're still having these issues. You know, we've talked about, the economy is shaking, we're struggling, we're doing so much. We've seen reforms, we've seen ad hoc committee, being set up for different situations, but we're still having these loopholes. Who should we blame? The government, the people? Who should we, point the arrow to? Because ghost workers, they are not just ghosts, somebody put them there. How do we get accountability? Because it's been happening over and over again. What do we do to get accountability?
Excellent question. In my introduction, I established the fact that there's an office there's an administration or administrator of IPPIS domiciled in the office of the Accountant General of the Federation. And there is someone responsible for, first of all, receiving data, imputing data, and then approving that that data is good enough so that payments can be made. Now, whoever or whatever the person or groups of persons are that make these decisions, they ultimately report to the Office of the Accountant General, who reports to the Ministry of Finance, who reports to the Presidency, and ultimately the President. So if you follow the officers included in the decision-making as far as payments of civil servants are concerned, there's someone in the IPPIS admin office that reports to someone in the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, that reports to someone in the Federal Ministry of Finance, that reports to someone in the Presidency. So it is quite clear that there are people responsible who make judgment calls on these issues, who make decisions. And if we can identify the offices, we can begin to understand some of the challenges that they may face and the tools that they may need to do their jobs better.
So I hear you said something in your first submission. You talked about how technology might be working, especially when it comes to the IPPIS, but then your second submission here about human integrity makes me ask this question, whether digitizing the payroll is going to help, whether technology alone is going to help, or whether the government needs to find a very specific way to make sure that collusion in offices that have to do with payroll misadministration is terminated somehow. So which is the best way? Is it just technology, or is it a total reorientation or overhaul of the human factor inside of these administrations?
Well, I don't think that you can eliminate human input in delivering value for the Nigerian people in the civil service. It has to be a combination of technology and people. And we must then bring the creativity to deliver a responsibly antagonistic civil service system in which there are incentives for one person to get another person doing bad. That doesn't necessarily eliminate the appetite to be corrupt or to want to enrich oneself. However, it has to take serious conspiracy and collaboration to go against a certain type of system.
Okay.
And it is that level of effort that perhaps the presidency and the head of the civil service need to bring and demonstrate to Nigerians that we can deliver value in that.
So, Anyekan, I and Celestina here, we're talking about the FIPC. The FIPC. Now, you're talking about collusion and how big you need, how big the collusion would need to be able to maybe defraud these systems. But we've seen one of even greater, what do you call it? That took even greater effort right there inside of the presidential offices, right there inside of the seat of power. So I'm wondering, if we have these issues in these offices, high there inside of the presidency, then who are these state officials or state governments not to have these abilities to be able to influence the system? And if technology didn't work up there, then what's the point of even using or even suggesting that technology could be our answer when it comes to the state level? So for me, it's a very confusing situation. You put technology there, they're going to overwrite it. Human error, you say you can't eliminate human input. Then where do we stand? How do we get accountability? How do we begin to trust our institutions?
Well, I think because the institutions are set up to serve the people, what technology brings is visibility for the people initially. Without technology, the people are shut out once the door is shut. What technology does in its uniqueness is to potentially bring an opportunity for the people to have visibility in the activities of the people who are appointed or elected to govern. While that is said, the technology in itself, in addition to providing visibility, is supposed to also bring a level of efficiency to the systems. When we're talking about large-scale data, so people with data analysis skills, people who can identify duplicates, people who can identify new entries. And this is where we begin to say, what then is the entry protocol into the IPPIS? So whoever brings data and puts into the IPPIS cannot be the same person who validates the data and confirms that it is clean enough to pay. Another thing that we may need to pay attention to is, other initiatives like the BVN and the NIN that we already have. Although these can also be duplicated and clones at high-level conspiracy levels, but it just makes it more difficult for people to come in. And there's something you have said we need to carefully consider. It is true that ghost workers exist, but ghost workers provide a unique type of risk to us as a nation. Because first, nobody tells us the ranking of the ghosts within the system. Are they director level or deputy director level? And senior officers who can take decisions, against the interest of the Nigerian people. In a world where there's espionage and huge global interest, someone can take the identity of a ghost worker, enter into our government and do tremendous harm to our people. So the idea of ghost workers is not just that we are saving money or we are saving our face as a nation. It is a concern of national security because people who are driven enough can recognize this as a unique hole into our government system and drive tremendous harm.
And Yeka, you need to see me and Mazino smiling when you said we don't know the rank of the ghost workers.
Because this is true.
It was really funny and it's so true. But now, when they put up reports like this, what we see is the money. Once we see the zeros, we're like, where's our money going to? But we're not talking about, like you said, the production part of it that is missing. We're talking about people not being present in their offices. And of course, they talked about how they had more ghost workers in the police, and they were talking insecurity. So would you say all of this ghost working situation and, no productivity is leading to why we're having insecurity issues? Because if we're having a lot of ghost workers in police, that's why we don't have enough people in their, in their post, and then you call them and then they say there's no fuel. So it's all connecting. Must add to that?
I want to add to it because what she's saying is actually true. And all of a sudden, we've become the responders here. But where you have a problem as insecurity and you think that that is the problem, the truth is that that might be just a symptom. Because if you have ghost workers within the police and you're complaining about manpower, then it means the disease is the fact that you don't have that manpower in the first place because most of them are ghosts. You can take it back now, Celeste.
So, Anyeke, what do you think?
Interesting question. The first point I would like to make is that correlation doesn't necessarily suggest causation. Once we take that out of the way, we can now begin to carefully recognize and unpack where the issues might be. It is right to think that because we may not have enough personnel, that could be the reason for the poor security situation in the country. That particular issue is a bit more complicated because the number of people within a system does not necessarily suggest that those people have the capacity, the tools, and the systems to deliver value. So you may have 100,000 policemen who are poor in spirit, broken psychologically, do not have the tools, and in any case, they may not be able to deliver the value. Having said that, the real problem with ghost workers is that it robs the country of the productivity of the real people who may have occupied those said offices. Because if you look at finances alone, okay, this is not the first time Nigeria has saved money from ghost workers. Very many years ago, very many years ago, like 2018, an audit revealed that we had saved 2 billion naira because of the IPPIS stuff. Very many years ago, the Nigerian Customs Service found out that there were 50% of total staff as ghost workers. We also found, in other states where you can quantify it $1 billion, 2 billion naira, etc. But in the grand scheme of things, these are rounding errors in the cumulative loss that Nigerians accrue as a result of all these inefficiencies. So while we can say we're saving money because we've reduced one thing, or we've cut days and we have 941 million, 941 million naira is a typical contract for a contractor to deliver paper in any ministry, department, or agency. So the money in itself is not the issue. It is the value that Nigerians are losing because people could have been paid. We talk a lot about remuneration of security agencies or agents. And we're saying, if these ghosts are all over the place, why don't we just clean up and get people who are well paid and well equipped to deliver the work? So we are losing more than we know, because every time Nigerians lose trust in our institutions, it gives the institutions the opportunity then to do what they want. Because obviously the citizens do not care to check. And that negative feedback loop continues to self-perpetuate, which is where leadership brings everything together. It's important that we have leadership that cares, that understands how these points come together to deliver devastating consequences, good or bad. And it's important for us as people to be interested in these things. Pay attention to the facts, pay attention to the offices. More importantly, pay attention to the officers, because for too long, we've talked about politicians and political appointees, but we know that there are demons within institutions that facilitate these types of large-scale ghosts within the system.
Well, Anyeka Joseph, it was really a pleasure having this conversation with you. And again, I feel like these are things Nigerians need to open their eyes to see. It's not just the money, on the, the headlines. What happened, the production, who are the people, how does, even when they recover the money, where does the money go to? All these things are questions I feel like Nigerians need to have. And thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Anyeka.
Thank you very much.
Well, there you have it, Nigerians. Ghost workers. It's not just about recovering stolen funds. It is about ensuring that public resources are used to deliver better services to Nigerians. Let's go on a short break. When we return, Breakfast Extra continues. Stay with us.
And you're welcome. And it's time to do a reverse dailies, because this day we're bringing you the dailies inside of our second hour. And we've got all of them stacked up for you. Once you pick them up this morning, these are the headlines you'll be finding on your front pages. And for the Vanguard newspaper, for a Saturday Vanguard, we have this. Fake agency originated from Buhari's government, says Budget Office, explains how PFIPC was allocated money. Now, you see what's happening here. And I suspected that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
That it's going to become the blame game. The blame game. Now, it's not hard to find out. Just go back on the records and find out exactly when this guy purportedly got his letter.
Yeah.
And then you'd know that it might not be from the Buhari era. But then again, not to say that there weren't also flaws that might have been generated from that era. But we'll wait and see when the ICPC comes out with its findings, which would be odd because, yeah, I'd rather an independent, an absolutely independent investigation. Now, terrorism. Why military faces tough challenges in the north. The fine print here. Safe haven supports network make rescue missions difficult, says General Musa. And Peter Obi is making the headlines again. You can change Nigeria in 4 years. I'm committed to one term, he says, can even sign legally binding affidavits. Now, I really love Peter Obi, I must say. But I think more than just the rhetorics, which we've been hearing more often now, and I'm going to say this even at the risk of being pelted with stones, that I want to see more than just these words, these mantras about being able to change Nigeria in just 1 year. What exactly are the efforts, the policies that will be put on ground to help Nigeria change? What exact challenges are you talking about? Because they're numerous. They're not just numerous, they're also evolving. We're seeing security come down north. It's becoming cyber. It's becoming virtual even. What exactly will you do? Be futuristic. Don't just tell me that you cured the ills of Nigeria from last year. What are you going to do when it evolves? Because that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So it's easy to say when you're a spectator, but when you're in the seat, it becomes real hot. U.S. hit Nigeria, 7 African countries with 12.5% tariff over forced labor claims. Yeah. And budget experts fault National Assembly over mosque, church, palace funding linked to the 2027 polls. Well, you found that funny.
I did find it funny.
Okay.
Because churches are NGOs. So how are you funding them when they are funded by the
you are. I think you do receive funding if you are an NGO. You would be receiving funding if you're an NGO. Yeah, you would be.
They are paying taxes.
Well, yeah, you're helping the community. You're helping in some way. I'll confirm on that and then get back to you. Let me not say what I don't know and put my foot in my mouth. Kwara state government builds 1,600 housing units for residents. Smart city to accommodate 540,000 now. And at the bottom here, Abacha didn't die in bed with a woman. Now, this is Amakri misrepresented how he died. Now, very interesting about the Abacha story. While I think that there are certain details about Abacha that history gets wrong, because I think he was a very interesting, intelligent head of state. Yeah. I think Abacha was our opportunity to actually have gone for the Afro.
Don't let the dead breathe.
The Afro in terms of the African economy actually having its own currency. Right. Abacha and maybe Gaddafi were on that trail. We could have gotten there. But I do believe that
we could have.
Well,
different presidential aspirants, different plan for Nigeria, and it's just one Nigeria, but different voices. So let's hope we get there. Let's move to the Saturday.
Let's new hope we get there.
Let's.
Sorry, go on.
Okay, right at the center, rich countries harvest 20,000 Nigerian health professionals.
Harvest.
Didn't know they were planted.
Exactly.
Well, nowhere like home, Tinubu tells medical workers. Where is it? 80% of health personnel considering relocation. I don't think they're considering. They've gone already, I'm sure. Wigwe Varsity, ex-workers clash over arbitrary sacking, abuse claims. Interesting. His death was really sad, so help us. Atiku hits back at Obasanjo. Don't exploit ex-speaker Naaba's debt, says Atiku. My husband still slept with his side chick after fidelity oath, says Canada-based woman. I think this is a take 3 conversation.
Yeah.
I made millions laugh while fighting personal battles, says Tauma, who's a content creator. And I think, again, that's just, it's just the way we're smiling. Nobody knows what we're going through, how we came to the office.
I think that's just life.
If we swam, if we took a canoe, if we tracked. You know, that's just how life is. We need to separate our jobs from what happens to us personally. And Nigerians need to take it easy on people. You know, most times they say the happy people are the ones really going through.
They're the ones who need happiness more.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I hope she's better now. And right at the top, how I lost 4 brilliant kids to landslide in one night.
Oh dear.
This is from somebody from my state. Cross River woman said. And of course, beside it, Toba Ijaya, rise, fall of Lagos street warlord. The alleged betrayal that led to his assassination. It's always someone inside.
It's the NURT official who was killed, if I'm not mistaken.
And I think that'll be all for the punch. And I think at the end it says SeaWorld Games, Oluwafemi Ayo smashes world record as Nigeria dominates opening day. That'll be all for the punch.
All right.
You know, what's our next paper?
It is the Saturday Telegraph, and for the big headline here, it says Gale of Forfeiture. How Nigeria's poor institutional control allows corruption to thrive, say lawyers. Focus should be on strengthening governance structures so that public resources are protected from abuse, says Ria, and also another byline there by Adams. Now, 60 years after July 29th coup, Aguiyin Rossi Fajui reviews State of Nation, point way forward. I would like to read this. Nigerians must respect our differences to move forward. Very true. My heart bleeds for Nigeria. Some fifth columnists still holding us down. To the side here, life-threatening flood alert. What we're doing to stem the tide, state governments. Is this an alarm, or is it in regards to the past floods we've been having? I'm not sure.
We'll find out.
Find out on page 28 and 29 for the Saturday Telegraph. And normal budgetary allocations hamper our operations, says Amupita. Try to win confidence of politicians, Abdusalami tells INEC chair. And now to this one. On page 26, you'll find this headline here. How we escaped death, Enugu air passengers narrate ordeal. Did you see the video? I saw the aircraft in the fields, and I'm like, oh, wait, where is this? Because it looked like a farm. Judging by how far the skid marks went, not skid marks in this case because they were right in the mud and the entire plane was broken inside of the mud. I was wondering exactly if it was trying to land on an airport and what the problem could have been. For the passengers, however, I can imagine what such a harrowing experience might have been. But then it also still makes you ask the question, how much faith do you have in Nigerian airspace, in Nigerian airlines? I say this because I once, front and center, witnessed a plane takeoff that never landed. And this was in 2012, if I'm not mistaken, and that scarred me for life. Since then, I've only ridden across Nigeria. I rarely fly across. So that's one reason why I ride.
Well, when you say it like that, it's with the way our things are being handled, with the unprofessionalism, you know, from the top to the bottom, it's enough for you to be scared of your life because you're skidding off the road. Could it be the runway? Could it be the tires of the aircraft?
Could it be human error?
We're renting aircraft to put our names for heaven's sake. So we can as well think, for visual sake, we take everything as a joke. Like it's not a puppet show. It's not a strip. It's reality.
So more scrutiny when it comes to the Nigerian airlines?
Every single thing, not just the airline, everywhere, the roads, the buses on the roads. They're not, I don't know how people still enter.
This is true. Thank you for raising this up. So because I was noticing, yes, there is a body responsible for enforcing roadworthiness. Yes. Now, I see these very...
They ain't worthy of nothing. Talk more of road. They are not worthy of...
I see these really bad vehicles on the road, and I see these guys,
Yes!
Not the Federal Road Safety now. Is it the VIOs and the rest?
I don't know.
They're right there looking at these guys go, but they're stopping private vehicles. And I'm wondering, what's going on here?
If you see the cars, it's like, how do people enter that? There's no way you wear a white shirt. You get there with black shirt.
The contraption,
I'm
not
telling
cars
you.
at the end of
There's an interesting story on the Saturday Telegraph that I'm waiting for you to
which
read.
one? I must have missed it.
Right at the top.
Right at the top, it says DG Budget Office, fake agencies, PFIPC got allocated through official instruments. Yes, we kind of like touched on that already. Queen, why does it excite you more?
There's no transparency in this conversation.
There's no... This conversation or
this situation?
The situation, okay. Well, we'll wait and see. The ICPC investigating, and that's what matters. Atiku to Tinubu, stop chasing shadows. We left behind robust pension schemes. Back when he was the vice president of Nigeria, I guess he's talking about. That's it for the Saturday Telegraph.
Well, let's move to the Nation.
Moving on to the Nation now, and what's the first headline?
Atiku, Obasanjo war of words escalates over bribery claims. He gave Naaba 5 million naira to impeach me, says former president. An ex-VP, why wait until speaker died before raising allegations? Again, transparency in communication is everything. Like, I think they let things just fester.
Well, it's a personal thing, I think. I mean, Yeah, why come at him after his death is a valid question, but again, there might have been reasons.
Exactly.
Why?
I don't want to quote them. The quotes are right there. Please get the paper and look at the codes. Below it, Osun 2026, police declare Emir ex-convicts wanted over political violence. NURTW rejects Adeleke suspension, inaugurates caretaker committee. Besides, it's inside multi-billion-dollar visa ripoff on vulnerable Nigerians and others. Let's talk about that.
Tell me, what have you heard?
I think, in my own opinion, we have some embassies that when you apply, they don't take your fee, except they will give you the visa.
Okay.
So they ask you for all the documents that they need. If they're not satisfied, you go home. They won't take your money. But if they're satisfied, they ask you to pay. But we have other embassies that take your money express and everything, and then they keep denying you, but your papers are genuine. And I'm sure that we have people that don't have the right documentation, allegedly, and they still get visas. Yeah. So I think we need to put a system whereby if you know you're not going to give the individual the visa, don't take the money, because that's our economy. Do you know how much people spend for visas?
And of course, that money doesn't stay here. It's going to the embassies.
Exactly.
To countries. But then again, how do you streamline the process? How do you sieve out the chaff?
Good.
If you don't do that.
I think
and plus that's effort, that's manpower that needs to
exactly
be
when you travel.
I'm saying that's why they take your money.
Exactly. That's why I said our government, we're looking for a way to curb and save money, right? Those are ways. When you travel, they see you at these airports. I'm sure that when they stamp, they know how long you're supposed to stay. They know where you are, so they can find you. If you really need to find the people that have overstayed, you can. Don't say, oh, they're already here. No, find them if you want to find them. So people understand that if you're going for fraudulent activities, they will get you. So give people their visa. If I say I'm going to school, let me go to school. Say if I fail, I will come back. If I go there, I will suffer. Send me back home. If you don't take those drastic measures and you're taking our money, there's a whole lot of money in that economy. Like visa economy, if you check how many people they refuse, tears.
Oh.
Tears.
Interesting.
I think that'll be all.
You've never been
I'm passionate about this visa.
Okay, then. So that'll be it for the dailies this moment. Do stay tuned. We've got another conversation lined up for you right here. Inside of Breakfast Extra, we'll be back. Welcome back again. Now, terrorism remains one of the biggest security challenges facing Africa, with violent extremist groups continuing to adapt despite years of military operation across the continent. Now, speaking during a virtual meeting of the African Union's Peace and Security Council, Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Bianca Odumegwu Ojukwu, called on African leaders to intensify efforts to disrupt the illicit financial networks and sustain terrorism. And also violent extremism. Noting that while several strategies have been adopted, many are yet to be effectively implemented.
Now, from kidnapping for ransom and illegal mining to cryptocurrency transactions and informal money transfer systems, these groups are constantly finding new ways to finance their operations while avoiding detection. So what exactly is terror financing? Why has it become so difficult to stop? And what more can African governments do to dismantle the financial networks that keep these groups alive? And joining us this morning is Frank Elianya, Head of Enterprise and Policy Desk at Tech Cabal. Frank, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Morning, Frank.
Thank you for having me.
Frank.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. It's not the first time we've heard about terror financing in Nigeria. We've had a couple of names out. Some people might have been fingered, but we've not seen much change. We've seen plenty of, effort when it comes to Nigeria's efforts militaristically. We've seen, success stories from the Orire 46, for instance, and we see all of this. But one thing maintains that whether you like it or not, it seems that these terrorist organizations are getting funding from somewhere, God knows where, we don't know, and maybe that's the issue. How exactly can government, be more focused on financial intelligence, just as they have been doing recently with our military efforts?
Okay, I think before I get to that, it is just important to establish what terror financing is. Terror financing essentially describes the process of raising, moving, storing, and using funds to support terrorist organizations and their activities. And many people believe that it is not always, it's about moving large sums of money. But it's actually the contrary. Terrorist groups often rely on relatively small and consistent streams of funding to recruit members, to procure equipment, transport fighters, maintain safe houses. I did a story recently that looked at insecurity and tracking kidnappers. And one of the things that became clear to me from talking to security agencies was that some of these monies that kidnappers ask for don't often go through the bank channels. They don't say put it in so account in so bank. What they often do is they say they prefer it to come to them in cash. They want it to be done in cash. So the victim's family will go to the bank, withdraw the amount of money that's demanded as ransom. And then there is a list that the terrorist organization often gives. Some can say you buy maybe commercial motorcycles, maybe like 2. You buy fuel, you buy this, you buy that. So there's a list, and then maybe 15% of that money, like say 20 million or 10 million, come to them in cash. So that one you have to carry that one in a Ghana must go or something, and put everything inside a car that you then transport to the location that they will give you. So what they try to do is to not leave a digital trail, but there are also digital trails that are left when you consider when.
Frank, are you still with us?
Yes, okay. I'm still here.
Okay.
So there are still some of them still leave digital trails. When you consider there are some that will say, oh, they need to buy. Yes.
All right. So Frank, now
okay.
I hear what you've been telling.
Yes.
But specifically now to the question I had asked before, how much more effort should we be placing when it comes to financial intelligence in our efforts in fighting terrorism? Are we placing enough?
So I think there's been a lot from the government side that has been done in to track some of this financing. I think there was a report that came out that showed that Nigeria was among the countries that have spent the most amount of money on surveillance. So the equipment, the technology exists, but what hasn't measured up is also the intelligence exists. There are various agencies that are doing a lot, and you've got the police, you've got the army, you've got everybody, working, and there's even a joint security team. But it's often where the lacuna lies is often in the implementation side of it. How do you apply, how do you implement these intelligence? Like it or not, there has been bureaucratic bottlenecks that have built over time that has refused to shift, even in these times when security agencies find themselves forced to work together. So, but there are still many of them that are not coming out as fast as possible, to relay information. Right. And that's not been that central platform where they all build together to say, this is my portion, or this is my patch of ground, and this is your patch of ground, but we meet somewhere and then we share information without holding back anything. So
Right.
agencies are still holding back information, and also response time is also important. The way maybe the army might respond, how quickly they respond, or maybe the police respond might be different, might vary and all that.
So, Frank, why you're saying, the agencies are holding information or holding back, we're saying that, terrorist organizations are increasingly, exploiting cryptocurrencies and informal money transfer systems. Now, do you think that the Nigerian financial regulators and our intelligence agencies can keep up with these matters? Do we have the capacity to keep up with the pace?
I think we have tried over the years to try to build some guidelines within the cryptocurrency ecosystem. There was a time when we were sort of laid back from the view of the Central Bank of Nigeria. During the time of Emefiele, when cryptocurrency was seen as pers non grata, so the market was largely thrown into a
it was actually banned for a while now, wasn't it? But to most people, they don't understand exactly.
It's a lot better.
It's a lot better now. But maybe what you could do for us, Frank, is explain exactly how cryptocurrency is used by these elements. And how curbing it can help. Maybe that's what most people really need to understand. How to use, or not how to, but how is it being used by these terrorists?
Good. Thank you. So cryptocurrencies present new challenges because they enable rapid cross-border transfers they enable cross-border transfers without relying on traditional banking infrastructure. So naturally, they don't go through the central bank. So it's not money that's going through the central bank. And it's not also money that's going to the commercial banks where you have data that can show you who did a particular transactions. So while blockchain transactions are publicly recorded, while these things are publicly recorded, it's in identifying the individuals behind the digital transactions is also very, very difficult. So informal value transfer systems also present an even greater challenge because many transactions occur entirely outside the financial system. So these systems often depend on trusted personal networks, making them difficult to dictate using conventional financial supervision. So there is a lot happening outside there. But
so once again, sorry, Frank, but I really want to get this straight. Once again, are you confirming that it is absolutely impossible to track crypto transactions?
It used to be. It used to be when the regulators were not paying much attention to crypto transactions. So you had exchanges that just onboarded people without maybe KYCs. But right now, we're starting to see regulators like the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, mandate exchanges to follow diligently with KYCs of their subscribers or their consumers. So that way, we are now starting to see some form of transparency within the cryptocurrency space. It is still not very easy to say this crypto key is owned by this person. But if you can follow the exchange where that transaction was made, if you can go to that exchange and say, okay, this happened and all that, they're able to tell you who made that transaction and at what time and probably where that person stays or something like that. So that is starting to happen. But what you also find is that there's still the prevalence of peer-to-peer transactions. peer-to-peer transactions is individuals transacting within themselves, and some exchanges still enable peer-to-peer transactions, and that is more difficult for you to track people who are doing so. And I think terrorist organizations depend more on peer-to-peer than going to traditional cryptocurrency exchanges. So you're not able to track them if they're using peer-to-peer transactions.
Mm-hmm. Well, Frank, eventually these monies, these virtual monies would have to hit some kind of apparatus that will make it tangible, like the money you and I spend. And I'm wondering where that is, where that ends. What institution? Is it fintech? Is it a bank? So what financial institution, and how much responsibilities generally financial institutions, whether banks or fintechs, owe when it comes to fighting terrorism?
What you also have to give to the terrorists is that they're not ignorant. They know that if they get this crypto and then they go to the bank to go and exchange the money, or maybe say convert to fiat and send it to my account, something at an E, it will be flagged. So again, I said that they prefer cash. So if they're going to make any crypto transaction peer-to-peer, it will still come in cash. And sometimes they don't come in bulk. They can use it to say buy something in large quantity. They can use it to buy equipment that their fighters need, like transportation, like cars, like weapons, and all of that. So they know how to distribute these monies in such a way that they're not compelled to go to the traditional financial institutions to put those money. So that way, they don't leave any digital or much digital trail behind. So that's why it's kind of like difficult for you to say this person did this last transaction and is suspicious. Let's go find him, and this is where they stay, or something like that. Okay. They don't do that. Yes.
Well, so when we're talking about, this whole terrorism thing, I'm looking at different angles. We've talked about how, they banned Okadas because they feel like that's their mode of transportation. Do you think that they should ban, crypto as well for now to curb the situation?
I do not think that that would be the solution. Before crypto, there was terrorism, and they were transacting with fiat. And even then, they were still strong. You have the 9/11 attack in the US. That wasn't done by crypto. Crypto was just a phenomenon that started in 2009. And it even became a thing around 2015, 2016, and upwards. So terrorism financing, yes, have benefited from cryptocurrency, but it is not the only means by which they are trading. There are other ways that they are financing their wars. For instance, I learned while also covering insecurity, I learned that some terrorist groups own farms where they herd cows. And what they do is that these cows are eventually turned into what you and I know as bomo. All right? And then these bomo are processed in large quantity, and they are shipped. They are literally exported to two directions. The largest market they have is the southern part of Nigeria. I kid you not. The southern part of Nigeria receives the bomo from the farms of these terrorists. And of course, you and I, we have to eat our bomo and all of that, but you do not know where it is coming from. But every money that export generates is, as in most of it, is plowed back into the effort, into the terrorist effort. Then they also export outside the country, but we haven't been able to establish how they do that. But there is intelligence that says that these leather, raw leather from these cows go directly to companies that produce, produce your bags, produce shoes, produce belts, some to the US and other countries, So they have different ways that they are generating funds, and not just from cryptocurrency. So if you're going to ban crypto and say that's because terrorists are using it, are you also going to ban these other means that they are also using? Because they will evolve. They will find another way of funding their activities. It's not only going to be through cryptocurrency. The only thing that needs to happen with cryptocurrency is that you need to have a tighter regulation around cryptocurrency. And I think this is the moment where you would like to see the Central Bank of Nigeria, the NFIU, the ONSA come together to craft a solid, united regulation that makes it almost impossible. It's not going to be impossible.
Just almost impossible.
It's going to be
we'll take almost impossible.
Make it almost impossible. For terrorist organization, or in fact, remove the incentives that makes it easy for them to use it at the end of the day. I think that's the way to look at it. And it's not even about being impossible. Just remove the incentives that make it easy for them to use, and then they'll just go to other areas where we'll probably be able to track them at the end of the day. But banning cryptos would just be in fact, if you say ban, I mean, we have seen ban before. We saw the central bank in 2018 say that they have banned cryptocurrency. What happened? It went underground. Right. So a lot
Frank,
more Nigerians started using it.
I do agree with you, but I have to step in here because we have run out of the allotted time for this conversation. But I also think that while we're doing these, efforts that we have on ground, that we begin to note that we need to start mentioning names. That's one way to create deterrence. If we don't have these names out there who might have been identified as terror financiers, then we really haven't started. Why aren't we mentioning the names? Maybe because it's sensitive. Thank you very much, Frank.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Say again?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Thank you for your insight with us. As terrorist organizations continue to evolve, defeating them requires more than just military action. Disrupting the financial network that funds these networks, it's very, very relevant. Thank you very much. And of course, do stay tuned. We've still got more conversation here inside of the 9 o'clock hour. We'll be right back for Breakfast Extra. Welcome back. That was fast. Now, let's have a small debate. A debate is currently unfolding, and it's in Ebonyi State over the state's participation in a World Bank-supported governance program and claims surrounding a reported $27 million performance-based grant. Now, while civil society groups have raised concerns about transparency and governance standards, the Ebonyi State government says the claims do not reflect its development efforts and points to several projects and interventions attracted to the state.
The conversation now raises broader questions about how states qualify for development funding, the role of accountability, and the importance of transparency in governance. To discuss this further, we're joined by Charles Otu, who's a spokesperson at Ebonyi Civil Society Coalition. Charles, thank you so much for joining. Can you just give us some context on, what triggered these conversations about the World Bank Hope program?
Good morning, Queen. Good morning, Mazino. Thank you for having me. Okay. First of all, we must appreciate the fact that Ebonyi is one of the states where a state that is not always at the forefront of national conversations. And that is why we are compelled to bring this debate. First of all, the background is that World Bank gave 7 key areas. Actually, there were 9, but there were 7 key major areas of assessment. Of course, because it's a grant, because it's an international organization, they have their own benchmarks. What we call performance, that is key performance indicators, what you call system independently verified system assessment. So this independently verified assessment was conducted, and 27 out of 36 states qualified. Why we are more worried, if Ebonyi was like Enugu, for instance, that is not educationally less developed or disadvantaged, maybe we may not be as troubled as we are. Currently in Lagos, you would have seen kids hawking on the streets. Most of the hawkers in Ebonyi, in Lagos and Abuja, Port Harcourt, major cities, are Ebonyi citizens. And this HOPE governance, the HOP governance performance base from the World Bank, totaling $27 million. If you convert it to Naira, that would be 38 points. It would have sorted at least some of these critical sectors in Ebonyi. For instance, the education sector. For instance, the public health care. Because what were they looking at? They were mainly looking at fiscal responsibility. Before me, the document I'm flagging is the People's Charter of Need. This was the promise of the government of Governor Francis Ogbonna-Nwifuru. Here, Rwanda contains a 36-page document that did the plans of the state in the education, in the health sector, and other critical sectors. And also with me is a Fiscal Responsibility Act, which means there is a law backing how the government should go about its procurement process. But these are observing breaches. This law was passed in 2008 by the State House of Assembly, and it's called the Ebonyi State Fiscal Responsibility Act.
So, Frank,
now what has happened, according to, based on the background,
I'll let you finish that statement.
I can hear you, please.
Go ahead. Finish that statement. Maybe you're on the track I was about to go on. Go ahead.
Okay, so what has happened is that over the past 3 years, there have been issues about non-disclosure, non-publication of budget documents. There have been issues of non-publication of medium-term expenditure frameworks. These are actually the documents and a lot of other public finance documents, public financial records that the government can look at and say, okay, the World Bank can look at and say, based on this, based on your performance, we can support you with this. There are a lot of procurement infractions going on in Ebonyi. As we speak, if you followed up about 2 weeks ago, the Punch newspaper widely reported about missing aircrafts. And they said, where is the money that was budgeted? Because the governor in December told us that by January, on a New Year message, actually, he promised Ebonyans that by January, 3 aircrafts have been procured, and the Ebonyi Air that of course, you are aware that there was an airport
Charles,
built by Umahi.
So Charles,
but Umahi spent
Charles, now I have to step in. Charles, now I have to step in. Charles, I have to step in here because first off, you're going to that conversation about the aircrafts, and I think that we should save that one for just a bit. I first of all wanted to understand what the civil society organization's argument was. That Ebonyi State did not make the cutoff or the benchmark to receive this grant is one. The state government, however, says that we do attract projects, and this is also a way to show that, hey, we are doing something. But I hear the CSO's argument on accountability. And I'm wondering which of these are more relevant, whether the fact that the state attracts projects or the fact that there seems to be no accountability. Mind you, the accountability you speak of have certain, factors such as deadlines, not meeting deadlines. Not that they didn't do the projects or that they didn't complete them, but that they didn't meet the deadline. So it's I'm trying to be very careful here exactly and find out which one matters more. Is it that these projects are available inside of are being attracted by Ebonyi State, or that they are not accountable because they're missing deadlines?
Thank you so much, Mazino. Thank you so much once again. If you look at our contention is not about just not meeting deadlines. I wish you could share the infographics that I shared with your team.
Okay.
We did an 11 infographics, and that details in graphics form. It details the issue of accountability. The Governor Francis Nwifuru administration has largely been grossly unaccountable. By that, I mean, you can imagine, for instance, that the state said they borrowed in May, that they borrowed 20 billion naira that was not passed through, that did not receive the necessary appropriation backing of the State House of Assembly. These are some of the issues that we have raised. We also contended and said, look, the way you are going about awarding contracts to your kinsmen, to your brothers, to your friends, Governor Winfrey has 109 family members. 109. It's a large polygamous family, if you know the background. Father married too many wives. And these projects are not receiving attention because they are awarded to politically exposed persons. These projects are awarded to companies that have single bidding. That is, single bid. And a second individual will register a company, maybe for instance in May, and in June he has received contract running to billions of naira. These are the issues the World Bank raised. These are part of the issues the World Bank raised. They said, we cannot track your project success because they are not being implemented. Most of the schools in Ebonyi that we are supposed to receive 6.2 billion naira for innovations, model schools, across the state, most of those contracts have not gotten up to 20% completion. Most of them. We went across the state and we gathered these facts. Some of those are being displayed on the infographics. So we have been saying, look, you cannot just say these things do not matter. We are preparing the government so they can answer questions and be relevant, position themselves for the next World Bank Governance Hope grant in future. And that's why we are calling for this debate. Okay. We are simply saying, look, you can be more accountable. You can do more to be more accountable to the people. And these are our concerns. Why did I mention the issue of the aircraft? Why that is important is because a 50 billion naira is alleged to have been spent, and there is no aircraft. Why won't people be asking questions? Well, regarding
that now, Charles, the governor has said that it is on track, that it is going on. But I'm wondering what civil society organizations expect to see to prove to them that this process is still ongoing. What would satisfy civil society organizations?
Okay. What will satisfy us is simple. We will be satisfied, for instance, if the 2-kilometer roads promised each community in Ebonyi, a total of 171 communities cutting across 171 political wards. If the government can tell us exactly, this is where we are regarding the 2-kilometer roads across communities. As we speak, you will be shocked that Ebonyi is one of the states that you cannot get. In fact, it's not about one of the states. It's the only state across the country that the governor cannot point at a finished project. As we speak, there is no road that you can count that has spanned between 50 to 100 kilometers that is completed in 3 years by the Winfrey administration. So if these are not indicators, indicators of non-performance, I don't know what else is. That's why we at the civil society organization, civil society coalition, are saying, look, Ebonyans have to wake up because we have a peculiar state, a state that has peculiar problems. If I move into the health sector and tell you about the state of public health facilities in Ebonyi, you will weep because even the ones that will qualify ordinarily from either World Health Organizations, what we should get, the loans, the grants we should get, even from African Development Bank, we are not getting because we are not doing things. The ministries are not functioning effectively and efficiently the way it should. As we speak, those children you see in Lagos hawking, you see in the streets of Lagos hawking, there was an earmarking of 2 billion naira at the outset of this administration in 2023 for the empowerment and returning those children to school. A certain commissioner for commerce and industry was to pioneer that project. That 2 billion naira did not get to the hawkers. And that is why you still see hawkers in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and across the entire length and breadth of the country. What does this tell you? Our state has a peculiar problem that we shouldn't joke with or play with opportunities that afford us free grants, such as, for instance, the World Bank performance-based grants. So what we are just calling for attention for is for the world to know what is happening in Ebonyi. Monies are coming as we speak. The local government system in Ebonyi is running as though it is, we learned about 10 trillion naira that is withheld from government, that is not getting to the local government. My local government, for instance, Africa local government, got 155 million, 555 million in June for May. As we speak.
Mr. Charles. Can you hear
what
me?
the coordinators and the council chairman complained is that the governor and his brothers
Mr. Charles,
filtered this money into their own private politics. I can hear you.
Mr. Charles, I hear you, or we hear you rather, and I know that, you know, it's been said that Ebonyi has been labeled the poverty capital of, you know, the southern Nigeria, or rather the third poorest state in Nigeria. And you've talked about different things, how education, the road infrastructure is not working for Ebonyi State. Now, all these assessment reports and all that you've said here, has it been published? That's one. And what is the civil society doing? Is this a situation where you think you guys will have to, you know, go to court for it if it's something you've been talking about, you know, constantly, and then there's no solution? Because I hear the anger. It's not just about the funding. It's the state of the, you know, your
the
state.
entire situation.
Yes,
yeah.
The entire situation. So, Charles, as all these things that you've mentioned, all these monies, all the allocations.
First of all, what we are doing.
Go on, Charles. At this point, we're unable to. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Go ahead.
I can hear you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
When you can, I can hear you. I heard your question clearly. What we are doing is we are at the mobilization stage. At this level, we are trying to conscientize Ghanaians that these are your rights. And we have Committee for Defense of Human Rights, CDHR, in our platform. We have Human Rights Action Group, and we have Good Living Initiative. These three platforms actually came together because of the need to, first of all, conscientize the Ghanaians. We are at the stage of mobilizing the Ebonyans to know and understand and ask basic questions about governance. What we get from the government is not satisfactory, because each time we ask these questions, they tell us 4 + 4 is equals to 8. And they say the governor has a second term of 8 terms. And we ask, is the re-election of the governor more important than the 4 years mandate he has been given between 2023 and that which expires in 2027? If, for instance, every election is a referendum on the incumbent, can you now, on the basis of that, say that Governor Winfrey has even delivered in the last 4 years to deserve to ask for another term in office? These are the issues. So we may head to court over time, but what we want to do is to, first of all, let the Ebonyans know that they have the right to ask questions.
Okay, so Mr. Charles, now this is the thing I'm noticing.
Come together.
Mr. Charles, I wanted to note something here, that from the arguments that you've put forward since, it has been basically about this missing opportunity to have gotten this grant from the Hope Initiative. But I'm also wondering how much attention is being put on accountability when it comes to those who are responsible, and if they are brought to book. Nobody seems to be talking about this. The individuals who are responsible for this lack of accountability inside of Ebonyi State. And you say it's been going on for a long time, but that doesn't seem to be the focus of the CSOs.
It's our focus, because it's actually our focus. Mazino, if we would care to know, the response of the government bothered about attracting federal projects. So we've attracted the Army Depot. We've attracted them. We have attracted some other federal government projects. That is not what we are talking about. They are derailing us from our focus. Our focus is actually on accountability, because what has happened in Ebonyi over time is that, Mazino, we don't get the opportunity to be heard as a state. You know, Ebonyi is the poverty capital of the southern Nigeria with 83.4% poverty rate. Let me just say, for the past 7 years, since Umahi's era in 2018, if you watch budgets or National Bureau of Statistics ranking, Ebonyi has consistently maintained that spot of being the third poorest state in the country. And the government doesn't seem to be troubled to do something drastic to change the narrative. If you watch what is happening, what is written here, if you check the agricultural sector, for instance, what Ebonyi has as mineral deposits and in agriculture is enough to put Ebonyi on the global map. Global map of not just one of the richest states, but one of the best performing states. What has happened is that the governor has not shown the capacity to turn this goodwill in these critical sectors around. What you have seen, a government that generates 14 billion naira as annual IGL as at the last count. You don't even see the money being plowed back into projects. You don't see the money being utilized effectively in key sectors. So our issue majorly has to do with accountability, because we have been talking about this accountability for, not like lack of accountability, for a long time, but this World Bank stepping in with this record now justifies the earlier positions we've held.
Well, Charles Otu, thank you so much for joining and having this conversation with us. We want to believe that this situation is something that the government will look into. You've shared your perspective, and this conversation is around development financing, and to highlight the importance of transparency, accountability, and strong institutions in ensuring that states can attract and effectively utilize resources meant to improve the lives of citizens. Of course, thank you for watching Breakfast Extra. Stay with us as we bring you more stories and conversations that matter. Let's also remind you that the views and reactions of our guests are solely theirs and have nothing to do with News Central or me and Mazino. Let's go on a short break. Every year, World IVF Day is observed to celebrate the advances in assisted reproductive technology and to raise awareness about infertility, a challenge that affects millions of individuals and couples around the world. For many families in vitro fertilization or IVF, it has made the dream of parenthood a reality. Yet, despite growing awareness, misconceptions, stigma, and concerns about cost continue to prevent many people from seeking the help they need.
Infertility is a medical condition. It's not a personal failure. As conversations around reproductive health become more open, experts say education and access to accurate information are essential to helping families make informed decisions about their fertility options. Now, this morning, as we mark World IVF Day, we discuss the realities of infertility, the role of IVF, and how advances in reproductive medicine is giving hope to many Nigerians. And joining us is Dr. Aisha Abubakar-Adebiyi, fertility specialist. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Just realized your name is AAA.
Yes.
Triple Ace.
Triple A.
I think it's quadruple, actually.
Quadruple?
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. Let's talk infertility. Let's talk IVF generally. World IVF Day. I think it's on the birthday of the first baby
Louis Brown.
ever have been conceived via
IVF.
In vitro fertilization. So how old might he be right now?
Today she will be 47 years.
47?
Yes, 47.
It's been that long?
Yeah, 1978.
So this technology has been available for that long.
Yes.
That means along the way it must have been advanced. But I'm wondering exactly how prevalent it is in Nigeria, first of all, before we get to the advancements.
So, well...
the use of IVF in Nigeria, yeah.
So it starts with basically infertility, right? So like infertility, most people don't really talk about, let's just say about 1 in 6 couples. You can have like about 6 couples here, and one of them should be infertile.
1 in 6?
Yes, 1 in 6. So that's how like it is, but people don't talk about it.
That's almost a fifth of marriages.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I think this has to be more around the stigma, because people don't really talk about it. There's this silence around it. And people don't even get to talk to their friends. They don't have people to talk to about it. And even coming to the clinic, they don't really go straight to say, oh, this is what has been happening to me. And they feel like it's more like a personal failure, like more like a moral feeling thing, or a spiritual cause, something. So they don't believe it's a condition, it's a medical condition that is treatable. Yeah.
And I'm wondering how admitting to it actually helps the situation.
So that's why we have today. Today is like we tend to create awareness, and that's where people can get to talk about it. People can know what it is.
And get help.
Yeah, and get help, exactly.
Right. When we talk about infertility, a lot of people look at the women. So most times, is it just the women or the partners in question, and how At what point should couples realize that, okay, it's time for us to consider IVF?
So before, it used to be like a woman issue, but presently or recently, it's now more of men and women. So we say we are on equal side, and we still have the unknown causes though. So, but of recent, so if we have to start, well, we say like for the women's side, when you are like, let's say women under 35, you actually present after trying for like 12 months unprotected intercourse. So they come in, that's when they need to get tested. And women above 35, within 6 months, they should present to the clinic and start asking what is the cause. And for a man, he will not realize like, okay, there is an issue at that point. But it's easier to find in women because at least by the time you start seeing irregular periods or maybe the way your body used to be is not the same. You just notice something is off, and like it's easier to test a woman than the man actually. So the man might just feel like, okay, because I'm releasing semen, I have sperm, so I don't have any issue. But they should know that even the quantity, the quality, it affects even getting pregnant also. So it's not just only a woman issue now.
Interesting indicator that you mentioned there. You talked about the fact that irregular menstruation could be a signal.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what other signals there might be. I know of something called PCOS. Is that what it's called?
Yes, polycystic ovarian, yes.
Ovarians.
So those are other factors that can affect also. So, but when we say irregular periods, at least a woman should see a period monthly, because at least if we say a cycle, we should have, normal cycle should be about 22 to 35 days. So if a woman is having less than that or having more than that, she should wonder that, oh, okay, something is actually wrong. And like for the polycystic, some of them might skip period for about 6 months, like a year. So that kind of person should come in and ask, okay, I don't know what is happening to my period. I need to understand what is happening to me.
What do you mean they see the period? It just continuous, or what?
No, they don't see.
They don't see?
Yeah, they don't see. They can skip for a year.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
Now, I wanted to say AAA. So we've talked about, you know, symptoms and when they start having all these irregular periods. You know, it's funny when people say you can never understand a woman completely, or you know, when they say hormones, you don't know why they have, for example, fibroids.
Yeah.
Is it preventable? Are there things women at a certain age need to be doing to make sure that, you know, they are fit as much as possible?
Well, if you are talking, then that means we have to say lifestyle changes, right?
Yes.
So, for example, for someone that is polycystic, right? So she has to understand her body, first of all, before she can even make changes, take medications. So if someone that has polycystic, sorry, I'm using that one, so like that's like an easy example. So at least we can tell her, okay, reduce carbohydrates, all those things, do exercises, because of the sugar, the insulin, they all affect. So at least by the time she does that, we can start with the lifestyle changes. Then at least and get your sugar tested, because sometimes you might be pre-diabetic or even diabetic and you don't even know, and that also affects being polycystic. So if all those is being corrected, it can actually help.
Right.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, in terms of, you know, IVF, there's a stigma to it, or you should have your children naturally and all whatnot. Are we doing enough to, you know, make these women understand that it's okay, it's not an issue if you're not part of the Hebrew women? I had to use that word.
So I would say we're actually not doing enough, but at least, as I said, this is what IVF did. That's why we are creating the awareness, because I still have couples or clients coming in and they still feel like it's more of like a spiritual stuff or it's more like a moral feeling thing. So, but you need to explain to them, like I recently saw a couple, so they've been seeing a gynecologist, like they've been married for 5 years. So, and like in their tests that they brought to me, they literally showed that she had blocked tubes. And I asked her, has anybody ever mentioned IVF to you? And they said no. There was just a friend that just told them that it's time to do IVF. The friend didn't even understand why they were coming for the IVF, but from the result, I feel like somebody should have told them that this is what you need, because you don't need tubes for that. So I just felt like there's no awareness. Even the doctors, the gynecologists, they're not doing enough about that.
So it's very interesting, because while we're talking about IVF, we also have to talk about infertility. But let's shift away from infertility for a minute and focus on IVF itself, the process. What is the process like? And at the end, tell us how affordable it is.
So I'll start by defining what is IVF. Okay. So IVF is in vitro fertilization. This is where we have the eggs and the sperm. So instead of being produced in the body, we kind of give you some medications to stimulate you. We collect the eggs.
Both parties, the male and the female?
No, more of the female. Okay. So the men is just to come on the day of the egg collection, produce the sperm. So,
no special exercises prior, nothing.
So if
diet.
If for a man, if he's having low sperm count, so we encourage frequent ejaculation because it helps produce new sperm cells.
How does he have frequent ejaculation?
That means having adequate sex. So that means
with partner.
With partner, definitely with partner.
Well, there are ways of stimulating. You could stimulate an ejaculation. So I thought perhaps maybe that's exercise to what the man.
Well, we partner, definitely we partner.
Okay.
So it's just to help produce new sperm cells. So at least we can get good quality sperm. So on that day, the man produces sperm, and the lady we retrieve the eggs. So retrieving the egg is not surgical. So it's mostly drawn through the transvaginal scan, where a needle, the woman is sedated, so she's not in any pains. So I'm sure people are curious about, like, it's very painful, no pains. So because she's well sedated, so and then we generate an embryo. So the embryo is now transferred back into the woman's womb. So and that part is only God.
What if the receiver, the woman, is unable to, I don't want to use the word house, or nurture these zygotes, or what do they call that? Embryo.
Yeah.
What if that's the situation? What if she's unable to nurture them all through the term?
So if she has tried multiple times and it's not being successful, so we can suggest to her, like, there's surrogacy. Oh. Yes. Because we don't know what cause. But before we even get to the surrogacy, there's what we call the pre-implantation genetics. So there are levels to this. Okay. So, yeah. And you asked for the cost.
Yes.
Yes.
The cost.
So the cost is from...
Did I hear you say,
Yeah, because it's not cheap.
That's very encouraging.
It's not cheap, to be honest. It's not cheap. It runs from hundreds to millions. Like, I can't really put a specific amount. Because
so each case is different.
Yes. What A will require will be different from what B will get. So it's actually but you just don't know that it's from hundreds to millions. So, yes.
Interesting.
And it has to be tailored to maybe depend on what we call expensive dose. Some people can really afford it, and some people it has to be maybe with their average income. It can actually cover it also. Yeah. And even some NGOs are helping out, like, then we have insurance, and I think some workplaces, they're even supporting their staff in doing that, yeah.
So for people who are not able to afford IVF, what would be the options? Do they advise them to adopt?
So we have other lesser, like, that is not expensive, like the IUI, that's intrauterine insemination, there's ovulation induction, but mostly people don't talk about that. But if a couple come in and I see that, okay, you don't really need IVF, I can actually suggest that. But there are rules to doing that. You have to have open tubes, your sperm has to be good, and all those before you can do all those ones. So IVF is mostly for people that they've tried severally and it has failed. So, and yeah.
I've got a further question regarding this, because the focus seems to be on women. What about where the issue is with the male, where perhaps maybe the sperm are not mobile enough, or maybe they're not enough? What can be done in that case? But then again, would that really require IVF processes if it was the male that was the factor?
So there is the World Health Organization, the rules that we have to follow to get the sperm. So if a man comes in and the sperm is less than, like maybe less than 2 mils, that's the volume, or less than 1.5, then we suggest, okay, the volume is low, but we can still get sperm, at least if because if the way it moves, the mortality, the way it moves, the quantity, that's the count, if it's low, definitely you can't achieve conception through that, because all this has to fit. So if
it's low, you can't. If the sperm count is low
for natural conception,
well, you only need 1 sperm.
Yes. So we have machines that do that. So if by the time a man comes in and doesn't have, like, he's not meeting all these criteria, so there's what we call ICSI, that's interested cytoplastic injection. We pick 1 sperm, we pick 1 egg, and we inject.
It has to be a very tiny needle.
Yes, and the machine is very expensive and big. So, yes, and you have to have an expert, a good person that does that, because it's not all embryologists that does that. Oh. So it's the process you have to learn. So just picking 1 sperm and 1 egg and just inject. So we have solution for people that have low sperm counts. So that's why it has to get to the level of IVF, because at least those sperm now, you can't just pick it and say, okay, I want to transfer this sperm into the vagina to get
Aisha, while we're rounding up this conversation, I think I want to, just talk about the stigma part. I know that you're not a psychologist, you're a doctor. A lot of people, of course, we have the whole spiritual side. Something is wrong with me. They are chasing me. My father's side, my mother's side. What would be your word to them that are not able to conceive naturally? Like, what would you say to them so they don't feel bad that, oh, maybe something I did a few years ago or this, and beat themselves over, and let them just understand that it's not just about them, it just happens to you.
So this kind of people, sometimes we offer counseling. So we try to let them go for that counseling, and even I, as a doctor too, I actually have to counsel them and explain to them. So I always have the 2 T's. That the infertility is treatable, is a medical condition, and time matters. Okay. So we don't want to get to the stage where you have to use donor eggs.
All right. I'm wondering if we're coming back to this conversation.
No, we're not.
Because I wish that we could.
And I can imagine our viewers wondering, why is Mazino asking all the IVF questions? Yes, he's
speaking up for everybody out there.
Yes.
I've met a lot of people who actually have this issue. And sometimes it's on the male side, sometimes on the female side. But there's one very hard question that the producers won't let me ask because we're out of time, but it's a very hard question I was going to ask. If they'd let us answer this in 1 minute, and if you can do this in 30 seconds. Okay. You spoke about stigma, and the fact is that some people feel bad because of, habits or things that they've done in the past. Certain instances as terminating a pregnancy, for instance. How does that affect future admittance of an embryo for these people?
It doesn't affect.
It doesn't.
It affect. So I would just say, break the silence and come, let's help you out. Okay. Because it doesn't affect at all. Right. Yes, it even increases your chances.
So basically, they should stop beating themselves and come to the right practitioner.
Exactly, and ask the right question.
To the producers, I promise you we'll do it in 1 minute. I will do it in 1 minute.
Well, you've had it all. Don't stay at home and cover yourself. Come out and speak to the right practitioner and get help, and you will be fine. Let's go on a short break. When we return, we have another conversation. Stay with us. From security threats to economic integration, the 69th ECOWAS Summit placed West Africa's most urgent challenges at the center of regional discussions, while also ushering in new leadership for the regional bloc with the emergence of a new chairman. Leaders examined ways to strengthen cooperation, address political instability, and build a more resilient regional framework that can create greater opportunities for citizens across member states.
Now, with the new chairman taking the helm, expectations are now focused on how the leadership transition will shape ECOWAS' response to ongoing security, economic, and also governance challenges. So, joining us to have a robust conversation is an African affairs analyst Mr. Abubakar-Adebiyi. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be
so
here.
refreshing to have a Focus Africa guest in the studio with us once in a while.
Once you start sounding like that, you're becoming happy.
She knows it's my happy place, Focus
Okay.
Let's talk about ECOWAS. It's not what it used to be. It's admitted. I mean, with the removal of or ejection of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. So it would seem democracy is a big factor when it comes to the concerns of ECOWAS. It affects its dynamics. It affects free movement across these regions. So I'm wondering how much the ECOWAS from before is different from what we have now. How much challenges they might have, especially when it comes to defending democracy.
Okay, first, thank you so much for having me here. Like you, I'm worried. I'm very, very unhappy about the fact that we allowed this to happen. Like you, I don't believe it was an ejection. I believe it was a walk away. They walked away. Okay, we have certain things that are very germane on the table. And in my opinion, we're kind of not looking at it seriously enough. So all of us in Africa are concerned about how we're not being true to ourselves. Corruption is at the forefront. People feel that they're not getting a fair deal. They're not exactly contributing to the election of their leaders. They're not getting those, what we call the perks of democracy from their leaders. And so, and in some way, over the years, we've left all of that at the table of our colonial leaders. The French are more angrier, if I would put it that way, because their central bank, governance of their finance, and a whole lot of things are coming directly from their French leaders. Maybe in the British space, they probably have treated us a little more diplomatically. It seemed like the pressure or control is sort of lesser than you have in the French space. So they've been deliberate step over the years by these people to kind of severe relationship between themselves and their French colonial masters. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Nigeria is like or is the economic leader in ECOWAS. For whatever reason, we are beginning to be seen to have a very, very strong relationship with France. And that's, if not properly explained or properly managed, will not really give a good impression on our French brothers. I have had the privilege of being part of a lot of regional trade organizations. And it's always very interesting when we go for meetings. It's very easy for the Francophones to congregate in a corner of the room and the Anglophones to congregate in a corner of the room. So we claim we have come to do trade, an event that is meant to unify us, to bring all of us together. But when there is break, all of us will just go to the, a particular corner of the room.
Like oil and water.
You get.
Oh, do you blame them? First of all, there's language barrier to consider, and then there's the currency, because whether you like it or not, all those countries that have the franc all have connections somehow or the other, and even to France itself. So they would still remain united somehow or the other.
But you see, that is why we're there. We know those things are there in the room, but we left our different homes to come into that space to deliberately talk and find ways of ensuring that there's unity amongst us. Look, my plea and my submission, and like you, that I'll continue to do for the rest of my life, is to not look at what divides us, because there are a lot of them. Some of us are tall, some are short, some are fair, some are, and all of that. But we need to be in the same room. We need to do things together. We're better unified, we're better, sort of exploring our strength and opportunities and all of that, because in my opinion, God, in his infinite mercy and greatness, decided not to give me what he gave you. Decided to, you know that, so there's certain things that you have that I don't have, that she's got that I don't have, and that we need to all leverage, pull together. So being a team player is compulsory. It's not an option, nothing. It's not, I don't necessarily have to play with them. Then you will not excel in life.
So you've talked about transparency in communication. You've talked about unification. And you've talked about how we're not angry enough or aggressive enough in the right way. And you know, when we talk about Nigeria again, we forget that it's not just Nigeria. It's connected to everywhere. You know, the borders. What steps have we missed to the fact that we're not able to translate our commitment to measurable results?
Let me start, because again, when you're on here like this, you just have limited time. So I try to touch on the most important thing. Now, I believe that for whatever reason, we're beginning to focus on the wrong thing, and I will explain myself. So it seemed like, what we're concerned about is to talk democracy above effective government, above fairness, above equity. Because you see, if you say democracy, 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 and at the end of the day, the people see that the process of getting those supposedly democratic governments into governance is flawed. Everybody can see it. There's issues, people are complaining, but each time the other guys come from the barracks. I'm not saying I support military rule. Not for a second. I'm just saying that whether we like it or not, those military play a very significant role in our development. So they're there. Even if you're a democratically elected government, you need the military to be able to sit in office and be sure, because they take care of security and a host of them. So if we're not careful and not play fair, and not ensure that those who perceive us, whether within or from outside, are able to see that truly we have a process in place, then they will say maybe the coup can be done by your native dress, but it cannot be done by the military. Because again, a lot of people have described the way we have elected or conducted our political exercise in a way that is not very complimentary. And I think we need to deal with that. We need to...
I want to talk about that.
Okay, fantastic. Let's
talk about that. Do you mind if I... New head?
No, go.
No, I'm talking about the president of, is it Senegal, who's taking over?
Yes. Oh, sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Sorry, I speak very...
No, it's fine, don't worry.
So now let's look at Senegal and its progress when it comes to democracy, and I'm wondering what can be applied in the greater ECOWAS region when it comes to democracy, which is something that we've been fighting with these other countries reverting back to military rule. How can that be applied in any way, shape or form? And would it even work? Noting that Senegal is not necessarily the powerhouse in Africa, Nigeria is, but when it comes to democracy, they seem to have a better record. So how do you think that would affect?
So again, that's a very, very good point that you're touching on, because I'm one of those that are excited by the fact that one is young, and is, like you rightly said, shown us, or they've, as a people, shown us that they kind of respect democracy more than we do. So I'm hoping that it will bring that to the table. It will bring that to his leadership. It will bring that to the things that he does. Look, let me again take advantage of this opportunity to say some of the things I want to start to see is that we reactivate our sporting engagement between the region. I want us to do more of entertainment exchange. I want us to do more educational exchange.
Do you think because he's young that these would be some of his...
Like I said, I'm taking the opportunity to suggest, if he will want to look at that, those are things I would want to suggest that he starts to look. I want a situation where we don't wait until we have problem before we start talking to ourselves. Look, you cannot be my friend if the only time I see you is when there's a problem. I want us to do more things, so that we kind of know ourselves before we see ourselves. Yeah. So people to people, one-on-one, student to students, youth to youth.
There is one more thing, however,
Go ahead,
that you
please.
haven't considered.
Go ahead.
while you're talking about sports as a unifier, trade is also a unifier.
Yeah, absolutely. The center, absolutely.
Able to cross the borders easy, and that was the idea of ECOWAS.
In the first place.
They missed out on one thing, and that's the problem we almost just spoke about when it comes to the currency. If West Africa had its own currency,
absolutely.
Things better.
You know what? Sorry to interject. I just didn't quickly say it. I'm wondering if we are unable to take care of the physical currency. I mean, we have digital platforms that are all over the place. Can we just latch onto that quickly and be able to make sure that transactions are made easier?
Well, remember those ties I spoke about when it comes to the franc and France?
Yeah.
That's perhaps a limiting condition here, because you would have to, even if it's going to be digitized, if it's going to be virtual, if it's going to be a digitized type of currency, you'd have to consider those ties that these monies would have to France. And that seems to be one of the issues that's causing some countries to dissociate themselves with France at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, so
that has to be solved first.
Absolutely. But, in doing that, because, technology is an very interesting thing. The conventional way we all thought we could do a lot of things are clearly being done in a way that we're wondering, so this was possible. For instance, in the banking, and I hate to advertise for certain people, look at this online banking thing. People, I never knew that I could be in a Marwa, for instance, and ask the driver and say, do you take, and he said yes. Those things were, in those days, meant for certain class of people, but today you can do that.
Accessible.
So I think that's what we should explore. And I think we can. As a people, we're very IT savvy, at least Nigeria. I think a lot of other countries in West Africa. So I think we should exploit. I think we should shake hands more and do whatever we can, bring down the cutting and all these red tapes and all of that. Because in my opinion, political leaders can continue to do that. But I think we need to go before them because it affects us more. Because again, one of the things I like to preach and say very loud is the fact that, look, whilst they do what they're doing, our lives are being affected, my business, my growth, my development. So I think businessmen, traders, musicians, entertainers, sports people should take it upon themselves, organizers, managers of things, to start to do more things. Let's go back into the room and be more creative and do things more amongst ourselves, such that by the time they realize it, there's a particular story. One time, I don't remember, the president was trying to introduce a culture to the president of Germany at the time. And I was like, I know him more than you, sir. He's more popular here than, this kind of thing I want to see more, where in those other areas of our life, we are making sure that we're shaking hands more, we're crossing the borders more, we're doing things more. Let's remove the barriers ourselves, because I guess if we continue to follow them, we're probably not going to get as far as we want to get in the time we should get there.
While I was watching both of you do your bromance and having this conversation, I'm like, okay, should I just,
No, please don't.
So we have a new chairman now.
Yeah.
What would success look like under him? What would you say you're expecting to see in this new regime?
Like I said earlier, he's a youth, he's a young man. I imagine that he'll do a lot of youthful things. Take into consideration that he got into office in a way that all of us, or most Africans, consider as legitimate, as one that is good. He should also explore that. I'm expecting a lot from him. I'm excited about his chairmanship, his assumption into office, and I'm hoping that he will take advantage and not disappoint people like us that are his followers, to ensure that he's able to make this more exciting for us, because I believe it's possible. I believe we don't even have a choice. ECOWAS is...
What do you believe he would succeed more? Is it trade, security, or democracy?
In all areas, so you can't leave anyone out, because first, which is good, the political side, it seems to have the character or personality to ensure that he's able to say, I think we're better off doing this thing this way. And I believe he's got his head in the right place as regards trade, because again, all of the necessary ingredients are on the table already. We've tried one currency, we've tried all of those things. They're just there. I just think what we need to do, and they have a lot of very brilliant minds. I happen to know some of them who are working in the ECOWAS Commission. I think it is just talk to the right people and not really do any new thing. Just start to make sure that he activate the good things that are already on it.
I'm on the edge, and I'm expecting you to talk about security.
Okay, fantastic. Beautiful place to go. Now, I believe so much in we say it all the time, kinetic and non-kinetic. I think sometimes when we talk about security, we're always very particular about the force, the physical part and all of that. You see, security actually starts before security starts. What do I mean by that? We need to talk to ourselves more. Security will be better if we become more friendlier, we become closer to ourselves. Then it's easier to call somebody, or it's easier for me to say, there's a problem in my friend's house, so nobody should go in there and all that. Those, there are cases where we've had to solve certain problems because our neighbors stepped into it. Now, if we continue to reduce our neighbors, 3 have left. Some of that people are talking. Togo is being accused of romancing them, because of the way they've related to them. And I don't blame them. They have a port. Those people need a port to do their business. So they're doing
advantage even economically, so why not?
So, but what I'm saying is security, going back to what you just asked, is stronger when your first security walls, your neighbors, your brothers, are secured because you have a good relationship with them. So nothing can happen there before it happens here. Nothing can happen there before it happens. So we take care of ourselves. So what I'm just preaching is the security will be stronger and better if we deal more with ourselves and be able to agree. ECOWAS, what's that? ECOMOG was meant to take care of. If somebody goes into government,
this would be the stick, that would use.
Wrong purpose. It should be. We should have a joint force that takes care of our joint borders. Make sure that we're secured generally. You see, these trying to flog the other person, at the end of the day, they will bring out the sovereignty card and say to you, don't come here.
I see what you're saying here. ECOMOG is not... It's not configured correctly because it seems like as if it's supposed to be the tool that you use to punish or that you use to evade or interfere.
Absolutely.
While it should actually just be an umbrella where we take care of our joint security.
It will be then easy to do those things if you protect me. You don't reprimand me as a father or parent if you're not well behaved, if you're not protecting me, if you're not providing for me. Do you know that the parents who provide can be met even with their eyes? People will listen to them. But no matter how disciplined you are, if you don't provide for me, I would disrespect you.
So the majority makeup of ECOMOG is actually Nigerian. I'm wondering how that puts Nigeria. And I'm even wondering whether ECOMOG is still effective. However, that aside, how does this change in chairmanship or ECOWAS currently deal with these Sahel states that have left? How are we meant to, our relationship, especially when it comes to international geopolitical relationships with other countries. These Sahel states are much more affiliated with Russia now than they were with France. How does that affect our communication with them and the kind of trade, because we still do have to trade, and that's why they're befriending Togo currently?
Incidentally, I'm one of those who believe that it's not as difficult as we're making it look, and I'll explain why. If you remember when we wanted to severe relationship with Niger or Niger, whatever way you want to pronounce it, it was very, very difficult, and you saw the kind of pushbacks because it was established that Nigeria has got a lot of borders, they're sharing a lot of borders with them, and that we are intermarried with them, we are related to them, a lot of stories. And you saw a lot of Nigerians cross the other side, and they listen to them, they welcome them, and all of that. What am I saying? We're actually related, all of us, really. When you really look at it. So why talk about the difficult things? Come back to ECOWAS, don't talk about it. Just go there, cement the relationship, talk to them. How can we do business together? Togo is trying to give you opportunity. This our port is better than ours, or we can give you a better deal. Why don't you come to us and all of that? Exactly. Why are you making it easy for one Togo to take over when you have a big Nigerian port? Really, I believe that, that's the way you want to play. We will go and play with them as well. We have the same reason, we have the same relationship. So by the time we cement all of that and we do more business with ourselves, All of those things will be easy. Then we can then talk about it later and say, what are you doing there? Why are you creating two organizations? We can have
I like what you've said in the sense that sometimes we forget. We just look at the headlines. We're not looking at the little relationship, which is what we need to focus on and stop beating ourselves and try and see how we can collaborate so we can stop suffering.
Yeah.
Mr. Oluseyi, thank you so much for joining us. It was such an amazing. I think I enjoyed just even listening to you. I know Masino likes to talk a lot, but it was really an interesting conversation, and I think it's something that our leaders need to see. We all have our agenda for the country, but that's not the point. The point is unity. So yeah, we've come to the end of Breakfast Extra Saturday edition. What a way to end the show. I wish we're still talking more, but then I would have just, laid down. But make sure to tune in tomorrow to join us. We have other news. We'll have a news at 12 and, round the clock till tomorrow. Me and Mazino will be back to discuss more on Breakfast Extra. See you tomorrow. Mazina, say
bye-bye, everybody.